Well, lads, it's October. You know what that means. Spooky content. So about half a year ago, I made the childhood trauma video, which was me talking about things that scared me as a baby boy. Mostly video games, but I think it's really hard to be afraid of low-poly models when you're older than the age of 11. So, as time went on, my fears moved towards things like creepypastas and urban legends. It's really interesting, because things like urban legends or fairy tales, you can tell they were made up to keep people away from the natural dangers of the world. Things like deep water or like stranger danger. Because most cultures seem to have things like... I don't remember what exactly this urban legend is, but it's like a legend about a wild horse that was... it said that, oh, if you touch this horse, you will not be able to remove your hand from this horse. And if you think about it, in, hindsight, it's quite a good lesson to be teaching kids, because you don't want to be just touching random animals, because obviously diseases, could be somebody else's horse, you don't want to be doing that sort of thing. It's very rude. One of my favourite historical myths or urban legends is the science behind vampirism. Because vampires, they don't make a lot of sense these days. We've got fairly solid proof that people don't come back from the dead. But, 12th century French peasants had no idea. And that is just simultaneously hilarious and horrifying to me. Because if you look at it from their perspective, if you imagine, oh, there's been famine in the village, we've got to go check on recently deceased daddy, and you open his coffin, and he's swollen as hell, and he's got blood around his mouth. Now that's terrifying enough on its own if you're just some random loser who lives in the middle of France. But, if you then consider that body is full of air, and they thought that penetrating the heart of the vampire fat dude would stop the invasion of the vampires. But if you think about it, because it's full of gas, once they puncture that body is going to exhale some of that gas, which is going to sound like it's sort of wincing in pain, which would probably just back up the idea that, oh, this person was still alive, we have stopped an actual vampire. It's really interesting once you actually look into it, because they thought a sign of a telltale vampire was A, the blood, but also the fact that the corpse wouldn't decay, which stabbing the corpse through the heart with a stake would remedy this, because it would allow the gases inside to leak out of the body and digest the outer areas of the body. But that's just something I found really interesting. I've never actually been afraid of vampires. I've always found them kind of silly. So I wanted to talk about creepypastas that I was afraid of when I was younger. For strange reasons, too. I've done my research and looked these things back up. And honestly, most of these things I have no idea why I was, afraid of them. Some of them, yeah, it does make sense, but a lot of them are just kind of why? Let's start off with some small ones. SpileDog.png was a really stupid one. Once you watch it, I actually see the picture, it kind of just saps all of the terror out of it, because it's oh, I saw it, I'm still alive. That's not very scary. Another sort of theme of creepypastas I was quite afraid of was all the Lavender Town creepypastas. Now, I have no idea why I was so afraid of these, because they're all quite silly, in hindsight. One of the more notable ones was Pokemon Black, not the actual official Pokemon Black, but the fan-made spooky, I found it at a yard sale spooky pasta game. I don't know if this is the creepypasta to, invent the idea of spooky pastas found at garbage sales, but it was one of the first ones I found. The general idea of this one was that you had a ghost from the Pokemon Tower, who you just sit in your party constantly and you can never get rid of him. And what you would do is you could use Curse on trainers, and it would replace their overworld sprites with little gravestones. Which, is quite sinister, when you kind of consider that thing's just there forever now. What's his name? Birdkeeper Joey, or whatever his name is just kind of there. This is his gravestone, this is where Joey died, because of me. That's more funny than tragic, to be honest. But the spooky bit was, at the end, when you beat the Indigo Plateau, you're left in Lavender Town, and the entire world is empty except for the gravestones. And it's you walk up... That's a spooky idea in and of itself, the idea of just being, large metropolitan area, nothing but gravestones, you're the only person there. I love post-apocalypses, literally my fetish. And that sounds all cool and spooky, but the creepypasta makes it very obvious that you walk at 1/4 speed, and you've got to get all the way across the map, and, that sounds super tedious. I'm a big bugger off loser, And even I have, like, better things to do than walk all the way across the Kanto region for no reason. By far, the creepypasta I was most afraid of was Jeff the Killer. And, like, this one has probably aged the worst out of all of them. Particularly because of the image. I don't know why. I was really, really horrified of this image when I was a babby. Well, I was 15. I don't know if you consider 15 babby age. I probably would. I don't know why I was so afraid of this image, because it's very spooky, but it's not, like, horrific spooky, if you know what I mean. I suppose it's the whole, oh, he's gonna break into your house, and... But the thing I don't understand about Jeff the Killer is, he doesn't seem to have supernatural powers at all. Like, he's just some dude. This doesn't, like... The creepypastas try to make it as though, oh, he stalks the woods or something. And that's kind of spooky, but they make it very kind of clear he sort of, like, breaks into people's houses. And I don't understand how this works, because if they just said, oh, we're looking for this dude, he's got his face burnt off, I'm pretty sure wherever he was, he'd just get immediately spotted. Like, I really liked the trope of spooky weirdo in the woods with a knife. I think it's really kind of spooky to be considered, oh, I'm in the woods, and, oh, they could be hiding anywhere, and it's very scary, very, very spook. But, like, the way the story is written doesn't kind of portray him that way. It's just kind of, oh, he goes crazy for no reason.